Hello, everyone. This is Hamilton from Hamilton Facts, where I help you and your business prosper through facilitation, agile coaching, and transformational services. Facts, FACTS. I'm here today with Joseph McCray, best-selling author of several books, but most known for his book, Valuable, You Are Too Good to Be Addicted. McCray is also a registered nurse in the field of treating people with alcohol and drug use. He has his own business called McCray Lectures, where he provides talks to people about overcoming drug and alcohol use. Joseph also helps new writers.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything that you would like, and I just want to mention that if this interview goes longer than 15 minutes, the next video will be a continuation of this.
Okay.
So let's start with, how are you today, Mr. McCray?
Well, thank you. I feel good. I feel real good today.
Cool. Can you tell me about how you got the idea to start to write and, write books?
So my writing of books got birthed when my mom passed in 2004. I was writing letters to her and got the idea that I need to capture her life in a memoir and grab some siblings and some nephews and put together a book called Pushing On: Wonderful Stories About Josephine Jordan. So it got birthed out of grief.
Okay. So tell me about that experience with that first book. Was that book a big success, or just tell me about that experience?
Yeah, so it didn't sell a lot of copies, and I don't think I expected it to, but what it did was it broke through the idea that you could take your ideas and put it into writing and share it with the world. And a release, I got a release on the inside of me that, hey, you know what? Experiences and things that you want to impart to people can be done through a book. And it just took me on a journey to write even more books now. So I'm up to book number 7 now. And that's what it did. It was a breakthrough. It was a breakthrough for my life.
Yeah, and the unique thing about writing books is books last much longer than our little lives.
Yeah, they do.
They help take your experiences and share it with someone else that you may never ever meet. And you impact that person's life with that book or with all the books that you've written. I know you have a couple of books. Which one was your most favorite?
So the one that was most favorite is Valuable, You're Too Good to Be Addicted. That opened up a lot of doors for me, sold a lot of copies as well, brought me to a lot of arenas that I wouldn't have normally been in. And it just allowed me to really share about addiction, about opioids, alcohol, cocaine in particular. And so I love that book. I love it. And a lot of ratings and reviews on Amazon about it. So it really blessed me as well as a lot of other people.
Okay. Tell me one other fun fact about that book. I know in particular, why did you pick the subject addiction? I know that you're a registered nurse. So how is that, how did you feel like you had a talent in dealing with people with addiction? That's a very hard area to deal with. And then what type of successes have you had that you can maybe share with us?
Yeah. So I grew up seeing addiction as a kid and not wanting to have the people I love caught up in addiction. And they did get out of addiction. They did get free. They did give up alcohol. And somehow I think it must have left a permanent impression inside of me as I pursued nursing at age 18 and started to feel I found my way to addiction treatment. in the early 2000s, and I just pursued it with everything inside of me. But then I realized I was limited. What I knew I shared at work. And then I started a business where I did go out in the community, but I still felt like more people needed to hear the story. And so sometimes a book will take you places that you can never personally get to. And so that's what writing valuable was, a way of being able to say, I'm going to get this book or this experience I've had to as many people as possible. And it has done that. It has crossed barriers, and I've gotten reports of people who families have been enlightened about certain drugs and certain treatments for those drugs. And so that makes me happy, that I can't personally get to your house and talk to your family member, but if you would allow the book to come in your home, it can be the same thing. It could be my voice still speaking to that person and their family. So that's what I really, really enjoy about it. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It
Okay.
does. I'm just sometimes in awe at how books can make a difference in so many people's lives. And I'm just, you know, I'm just really happy that you've been able to find that niche and be able to help it grow with books and, with your company, speaking to people about addiction. Can you tell me one other thing when it comes to how you help new writers? Can you share with me how you got that idea to help new writers?
Yeah. So that came about during COVID. During the COVID pandemic, I started thinking about writing, and I was thinking of another means of income, also another means to sort of reach people with some talents and skills that I had. And I started out just getting on Facebook, and sharing about writing, and then I called it the Author's Corner, and then later on I changed it to the Book Spot, and then I found out that there are people who wanted to write their books, and they started gravitating to the idea of it and following me, and I started personally coaching two people at first, and it was a thrill. It was a real excitement that some of what I've learned was so beneficial and helpful to the first two people that I coached. And I just started staying with it because one of the things I teach about writing is being consistent. And so I realized, in order to do the show and be there for people is to be consistent. If I say I'm going to be there, even if I'm not there long, but just to be there. And it works. And I'm coming across people all the time who want to get books written because we all have a story, and some of us will go as far as trying to tell that story.
Yeah. So when it comes to you sharing your skills and your knowledge about writing books, can you give me at least one thing that you want to share with new writers that, maybe it's a pitfall that they need to avoid, or if it's other than consistency, is it something that they really need to pay attention to when it comes to, being a person that wants to have their thoughts and their words out there?
I would say it's not to be afraid. Many people get fearful. They don't feel like their story is worthwhile. They don't feel like nobody will read it. And sometimes they have like really high hopes, like, they want to be a New York bestseller. But honestly, you need to get the idea out of your head onto paper and make it become a reality. Now, what it does and how successful it is depends on how hard you're going to work and who is that audience that's going to receive it. But I would say the biggest tip I try to tell people is to not be afraid. because I experienced that myself with my first book. I almost didn't write it because I got afraid, because people had backed out, and who I thought was there for me wasn't there for me. But I remember the title of the book was Pushing On. So it was the words my mom used to say, and I said, well, it's right there. You have to push on and make this happen. And so it encouraged me to do it, and it still is a word I use today, and that is to push on, to persevere, to pursue, and not be afraid, not be afraid.
Yeah, I think that is such a jewel, because a lot of times people will want someone else's approval to
Yes,
fulfill
yes,
their dream, or I'm doing
absolutely.
this for you because I
Yeah.
feel like you need me to do this. And really,
Uh-huh.
they need to do this for themselves. So the absolute best thing that they can do for themselves is to praise themselves, because
Mhm.
sometimes people won't be there to praise you. People won't be
That's
there to
right.
help you. And then you've got to, just like you said, you got to push on. Thank goodness that you titled that Push On,
Yeah.
because that was the inspiration that you needed to really do that book. And then how many books do you have now?
7.
7 books.
Yeah.
So that is awesome. Now, is there a book that you're working on right now? I know Get That Book Done, or Get That Book Written is your most recent book, but are
Right.
you working on something right now?
I am. I am. I'm working on a book now called Alcohol Speaks, and it's a interview with alcohol. I made alcohol like a person, and I'm just having this conversation with alcohol. Uh, some of the history of it, what it does, how it affects your health, um, just interviewing alcohol in every different aspect of how it shows up in our society.
You-
So it's interesting. It's
you-
interesting.
I have a question, but just before I forget, and I know we're running close on time. When it comes to people that are addicted, do you find a particular thread or particular disposition with people that are prone to alcohol abuse, or prone to drugs, or is it more environment? Can you predict sometimes how someone is going to react when you are with them and you know that they're addicted?
So I can't really predict like how they're going to respond. I think part of what you were asking, is there like a common thread
Yeah.
with people with addiction? There is, and the common thread is that the substance meets a need. It satisfies something that they long for, and sometimes it's because of trauma, sometimes it's because of depression, sometimes it's just because of the whole thrill. Some people are very adventurous and they like to take on new things, and so drugs is just another new thing to take on. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to, it meets a need, it fulfills something for that individual. And if they would be honest in what it fulfills, then they would have to find what else can they get that fulfillment from without mind altering substance. And so that's what recovery focuses on. What can you do now that you don't use drugs and alcohol? How can you still get those needs met that you were getting met for years through drugs and alcohol? That July 28th at 7, I'm going to be doing a book workshop. Um, it's called Get That Book Written, and you can go to McCray Lectures, www.mccraylectures.com, and see that. Uh, so that's the one big thing I'm doing as far as book writing. I do make a few YouTube videos that you can type in addiction treatment with Mr. Joe and find some of my videos that I make about addiction treatment, and just a little short, to the point video about how drugs impact your health.